What up, folks? It's your boy Trails, and we back with another one. And we got an update from the Ahmaud Arbery case. But first and foremost, welcome to the aquarium. But make sure you hit that like and sub. And we got this article coming out from WTOC 11. Shout out them. Much love for the video. And trial of former Brunswick DA accused of interfering with Ahmaud Arbery case to begin next week. Now we got this video to go ahead and watch, and it will detail exactly what's occurring in this situation, and then we'll take it from there.
We'll be back in court next week, but this time she's the one on trial.
Jury selection in the Jackie Johnson case is set to start on Tuesday. She's charged with interfering with the investigation of the 2020 killing of Ahmaud Arbery, a case that gained national attention and an outcry for justice. 3 white men, Gregory and Travis McMichael, along with William Roddy Bryan, were all convicted for the death and federal hate crimes in the shooting of the 25-year-old black man.
Haley Boland has a look at what we can expect during the trial.
Yeah, Mike and Dawn, it's been nearly...
So this trial happened a while ago. I must interject every once in a while whatsoever. But, yeah, so basically she is charged with interfering in that case. Now they're going to detail what she did as far as her interference in this situation.
It's been nearly 5 years since Arbery's killing in February 2020 and almost 4 years since a grand jury indicted Jackie Johnson for charges related to the case in March 2021. The case has been bogged down in delays and is finally heading toward jury selection. Jackie Johnson set to be back in the courtroom after her first appearance this past December. Johnson is charged with violation of oath of office and obstruction of law enforcement. According to the indictment, Johnson showed, quote, favor and affection to Greg McMichael during the investigation into the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery, violating her oath as district attorney. McMichael was later...
And what do we call that, ladies and gentlemen? We call that systemic racism. So when you hear the word systemic racism, that's what we're talking about. When justice isn't applied equally. And this case highlights that situation. And this is exactly what occurred. Now let's let it continue.
Was later convicted of murder and federal hate crimes in the case. Court records show one of the first phone calls Greg McMichael made after Arbery's shooting was to Johnson. He left this voicemail.
Jackie, this is Greg. Can you call me as soon as you possibly can? My son and I have been involved in a shooting, and I need some advice right away. If you can please call me as soon as you possibly can. Thanks. Bye.
McMichael.
Yeah, look at the picture. Yeah, so this looks like a situation of collusion right here. This was, as soon as the situation happened, he had plugs with her, and he went out to reach out to her to get advice, leniency, etc. And she had no problem violating the oath of office due to her personal biases with knowing said suspect and not caring about the victim as well, being able to place the value of the life of the victim over the suspect due to knowing the suspect, pretty much.
McMichael worked for Johnson in the Brunswick Judicial Circuit for years. He retired in 2019 and had previously served as a chief investigator. The indictment also states that she interfered with law enforcement by telling 2 Glenn County police officers not to arrest Travis McMichael, Greg's son, who was also convicted for his role in the attack on Arbery. If convicted, Johnson would face a 1 to 5 year sentence for violation of oath, which is a felony. She also could face a sentence of up to a year for the obstruction charge, which is a misdemeanor. Johnson's high-profile defense.
And one thing that they're not going to bring up is the fact that since this occurred, all cases that this woman has previously worked on should be looked at and scrutinized and determined if she had biases when assessing those situations when the subjects were black as well. But we know that big old special golden word of systemic racism, that point and issue won't be addressed. They're going to overlook that as a continuation of the same bias that she showed in this situation. So while she showed bias, they're going to show bias to her.
File defense attorney Brian Steele has been involved in Georgia's longest-running criminal trial in history in Atlanta, a multi-defendant racketeering case involving rap artists and YSL Records. The trial spanned more than a year and ended in December. Steele is now expected to be back in court in Glenn County to represent Johnson.
So you notice this, the guy who represented her is the guy who represented Young Thug and YSL. They, in the beginning of this, mentioned how backed up courts were and all this. They had no problem getting YSL and all them little thugs and hoodlums processed and put through. But this took 4 years after a grand jury indicted her, right? Shouldn't this have been taken care of before the YSL case? It's a good question.
Attorney General Chris Carr's office will prosecute the case after Johnson's legal team tried to have him removed. During her first court appearance in December, Steele stated he planned to call Carr as a witness, which he argued would disqualify him as the case's prosecutor.
I don't believe that it is within the law to allow a prosecutor or any lawyer to also be a witness, and it's a material witness in the case.
The judge ultimately ruled to allow the AG's office to remain on the case.
What? So he gets
to begin at the
So he gets to remain on the case and be the witness? Wait a minute. Go
Lane
back.
County to represent Johnson. Attorney General case involving rap artists and YSL Records. The trial spanned more than a year and ended in December. Steele is now expected to be back in court in Glenn County to represent Johnson. Attorney General Chris Carr's office will prosecute the case after Johnson's legal team tried to have him removed. During her first court appearance in December, Steele stated he planned to call Carr as a witness, which he argued would disqualify him as the case's prosecutor.
I don't believe that it is within the law to allow a prosecutor or any lawyer to also be a witness, and it's a material witness in the case.
The judge ultimately ruled to allow the AG's office to remain on the case.
No, that I don't agree with right there. I think that's BS because, yeah, that's a conflict of interest and that shouldn't be allowed. And one thing to take note about this situation is that, you know, it's all set up. What they're going to give her probation for a year, 5 years probation with a year over her head. And they're not going to go back, like I said, and look at her previous cases where it could be shown prosecutorial misconduct by bias. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole other multitude of punitive damages and charges that should have escalated the situation, and we see a minimal slap on the hand for someone who swore an oath to the office who violated on that same oath they swore. When I can go in Walmart right now, steal a whole gang of stuff, and it's under 1,000. They ain't gonna let me go. I'm gonna go to jail and get about as much time as this lady got for breaking an oath that she dedicated her life in pursuing of when Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. But when you're black, it ain't blind. She always got that one eye open looking at you. And that's the stuff that I love to be able to highlight to you and to the world in real time underwater. But anyways, I don't want to hold you up for too long. Make sure you hit that like and sub. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments. Our condolences to the Arbery family, of course. And yeah, it's just a very sticky situation. It shouldn't have took 4 years. And it's funny how everyone else's trial, like YSL and all those other guys, were able to get fast-tracked and processed through when she was indicted 4 years ago, and this happened 5 years ago. And they had no problem using how the courts were backed up as an excuse for her. But shouldn't Young Thug not even have had a trial yet if that was true? What say you? Anyways, like always, you know what it is. Deuces.